Hello and welcome to Keystroke Medium's 50-word short story extravaganza. For the past 2 weeks, you guys have been submitting your micro stories for our inspection. Today, Keystroke's very own Ellen Campbell joins us to share her insights into your teeny tiny stories. The challenge we threw out, can you write an entire story in just 50 words? Who hit the mark and who came close? Let's find out. All right, ladies, let's get to it.
Woo, woo, woo. Are we just jumping right into this biznatch?
Yes, but I want to hear how you guys are doing. So before we jump
dang
in.
it. I'm so close.
So close. We have a thunderstorm. So if you hear thunder and pitter-pattering right now, that is Delaware weather. I've got a pan outside to collect water for my orchids. That's my update.
Super secret. She's not really doing that. I don't know if it's illegal in your state. I think it's illegal here. So
to collect rainwater?
We can't collect rainwater.
But what will the orchids drink?
I don't know. They have to pay for other water.
Mine are non-native species. If they're non-native species, then
What? I let them die of thirst? Mine are so bougie they demand rainwater, pure from the skies.
Fresh.
Huh?
Look who's here.
I want to say real quick, Corey Gilliam, golf clap of appreciation. First in the chat, Patricia Gilliam, welcome. Ken Britz. Everyone else, I see several watching, but I only see 3 different people posting in the live chat. So if you're not in the live chat, get in there. Because later in the show, we're going to have a fun game that we have planned to play. And with that, very quick, my update, I'm exhausted. I am editing like crazy. I got a little behind due to some family stuff, but I'm almost caught back up again and super excited about that. Ellen, we haven't seen you in a while. What's going on in your world?
Same old. House stuff. But it's coming together. I'm feeling better. I've got my head out from wherever it was, I think. Maybe. I don't know. It's been a weird year.
You have a new contractor who's charging forward, getting this house done.
Well, he's trying to, but Compass keeps jumping in front of him. But it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay. We got this.
They'll learn their place soon enough.
Yeah, they will.
One step at a time, ladies.
All right. I don't know if that was enough. Was that enough update?
It's going to have to be. It'll be our 50-word self-update.
Yes, because we have lots of 50-word stories to get to.
Yes.
We do. And with that, first on the list, because I'm just going down the list that I was sent, is... do I say the people? Should I say... Are they all anonymous? I probably should ask that before. Doesn't matter. If they don't... Okay. Scott Walker, you're up. Yes. Evening rain pelted the window as Katya sat, head in hands, missing home. Making music was how she fought despair. But today, that offered no relief. Teetering on the knife's edge, staring into the void, Katya did not blink. Tomorrow would be better. Or not. But she would not blink. End scene.
Ooh.
That's really very good. I mean, you get the whole... it's all right there. It's a bite-sized story from beginning to end. You don't need to know the whys or the wherefores. He gives you enough that you walk away satisfied with the story. It's worded for the most part pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with sitting and stuff, but sometimes people do sit, so I acknowledge that.
And it has a purpose. She's in a moment missing home. That's the whole thing.
A fugue moment. She's kind of blue. Yeah. So I'm acknowledging that. Yeah, I think it's a very good story. I think we got a lot of really good stories. I was super impressed.
So, Ellen, what are you looking for in a story? Whether you're an editor or whether we're looking at these 50-word stories, like what sets a story apart from just a collection of words?
You have to be able to fall into it. It's got to be, you got to be able to, immersive. You've got to be able to sink into it and shut the rest of the world out. I mean, if you're distracted by this and this, then the story hasn't drawn you in.
Yeah,
to be a success, you've got to pull them in so hard that people have to yell at them to get them out.
And this first one's, I think, is a good example of that, because immediately we're there in the room with her. We have that sense of emotion, and there's that bit of sound, the rain pelting the window. You can instantly hear that kind of, exist in it. So that's good. I like it.
So it sets up a world, it sets up the characters, pulls the reader in.
It doesn't have to do any of that. It just has to pull the reader in. And there are so many ways to do that. And there's no, I mean, yes, there are things that work and things that, competent writers do and this, that, and the other, but there's always room for that out of left field.
Ooh, someone didn't silence the phone.
Somebody's doing it right now. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, on what Ellen's saying, that's exactly right. Like you can yank them in with your imagery in your narrative. You can yank them in with dialogue that instantly puts you into whatever the scene is. I've seen the question that is going to be answered at some point, be right at the beginning. Like there's endless amounts of ways to do that. And that's not something that you have to answer right away. Like you might write the entire thing, get to the end, and then be like, oh, I know how I'm going to open all this, which is perfectly fine. So just be aware that it is that thing, whatever it might be, that's just like, reader, you will not leave. I have you forever.
Yeah, it's that indefinable X quality that, you see in actors or writers or teachers sometimes.
I think one other piece we're looking for in a story that would set it apart from like a speech or, or a meme, for example. Like there's other forms of writing that can capture someone's imagination, but a story has a conflict that's presented to the reader. And we look for it in that beginning, and maybe there's that climax and end, but there's some plot line that's centering around at least one conflict. One 6-word story I've heard of and seen as an example is, for sale, baby shoes never worn. And that's held up
Yeah.
as
that one's sad.
teeny tiny story. We have more than 6 words for this, extravaganza. We've got 50 words. Wow.
Generous.
Yes. Gosh, we're being so generous.
50 words to have, your character, you've got your world, you've got your conflict, and you pull the reader in, like Ellen's saying. Draw them into that story.
All right. Any more thoughts on Scott Walker's Evening Rain?
Well done. Good job.
All right. Golf clap. Yes. And next up on the the reading block, Andrew Lambert. Thank you for your submission. Certain the hairy beast was gone, the shorter duskin rabbits edged out of hiding to where Strange Rabbit stood groggily. My head, the voices have gone. Free of the aliens, he was a rabbit again, wanting just 2 things. The grass was tasty, but so was the nearest female. Hello, gorgeous.
Oh my.
And scene.
Ooh, glad we ended it right there.
I thought that was cute. I liked that. It was light. It was enjoyable. Maybe could have had a tweak here or there, but all in all, it did what we asked it to do.
I want to know the rest of the story.
Well, I think we all know the rest of the story.
Well, I mean, but is he like a werewolf or like a were-rabbit?
I thought he was possessed by aliens.
Did he get some new special powers that he can like transform into other creatures, or?
Ooh, it's Peter Rabbit's backstory. That's how he learned to talk, because he was once possessed by aliens. Sorry.
I actually would bet money that that's part of a larger story.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that was one thing for me with this one is it's like this nugget of story that is definitely a part of a larger whole, but at the same time you don't. That's one of the things with these 50 shorts is how much information are you giving away that makes readers feel like they didn't get enough to have that whole. So it's like we know that he was possessed by aliens and now he's free, but the point of it is what he does with that freedom, not what he did during being possessed. So that focus was still fairly tight on that.
Ken Britt says Josh Hayes' 50-word story is 150 words over.
I know that's right.
Only 150? Gosh, I thought he'd be at least 300. Listening to all of these, Borja. Oh my gosh, there was a note on here about this. Scrolling all the way until I find it. Yes, correct. I was correct. Borja Escobar says, listening to all of these, I think the best flash fiction prompts the reader's imagination to fill in the gaps however they please. Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, back to the top. All right. Any other words on Andrew Lambert's Freedom Rabbit? No.
I mean, we're supposed to be editing, but honestly, with 50 words, there's not a whole lot to edit in most of these. I mean, maybe we would tweak a word here or there, but there's not a whole lot of punching and slicing and dicing.
Yeah, if there's something like glaringly, like you could possibly tweak this, then we'll say so. But yeah, I agree. For the most part, it would be hard to edit them. All right, number 3 on the block, our one and only beautiful, glorious J. Clifton Slater.
Yay!
Chet had always been loud. His booming voice provoked shouts of "keep it down," calls to use your indoor voice, and snake-like hisses at theaters. No one appreciated loud Chet, until one day on the beach when tragedy was averted by Chet yelling, "Shark!" And scene.
Dang.
Poor Chet. I don't know if I feel sorry for him or for the people around him.
It's his superpower.
It's his superpower, being loud. Apparently it's mine, too. My husband keeps telling me, stop yelling at people. I'm not yelling.
If it works, it works.
It doesn't work.
So that's something fun about this one. That immediately evokes, some emotion. It's just like, yeah, the loud one. But like he got to help. He helped out in the end. He had a purpose. He found a purpose.
And it's another one with some humor in it. It wasn't all gloom and doom. It was light. It was tasty. It went down all right. It made me want more.
There you go.
Missing. Something's missing. Tell me more.
To know more about that shark attack.
Right.
And what happened that day.
Because yeah. I was gonna say, I don't know what I was gonna say.
All right. So I'm just gonna keep jumping on. All right. This one is from Anonymous. Yes, this one. I remember this one. Okay. From Anonymous. Thank you for your submission. Orphaned, abandoned, raised in the foster care system. Detective Nate Rollins knows he's different and struggles to appear normal. When a woman carjacks him and begs for help, he is duty-bound to protect her from the men chasing her. But she's not human, and she insists he isn't either. Okay, end scene. And this one, Ellen almost didn't want to keep it because of a very specific reason that we're going to go into.
Well, it reads like a blurb. It's not a story as much as it is a blurb for the back of a book.
But I really wanted to include it because that is definitely something that I like. It's like example. It's a perfect example. And also a perfect example, side note, blurbs don't have to be 20,000 words long.
Right. And it's a very good blurb.
It is. It's a fantastic blurb. I want to know more about this. What kind of, what is he? Who is she? All this sort of stuff. Lots of questions are being arisen and hinted at in this one. But
the real difference is that the blurb is trying to draw you into a larger story, and we're trying to give a whole story in a very short amount of time, and it's complete in itself. It's a whole thing, like an egg. It's just an egg.
So if we were to make this a 50-word story, then what would be our first step?
Well, we'd have to tighten it way up because you can't cover the whole world in 50 words. Hang on, I'm going to pull away from you here.
Yeah, I'll just read it again real quick. Orphaned, abandoned, raised in the foster care system, Detective Nate Rollins knows he's different and struggles to appear normal. When a woman carjacks him and begs for help, he is duty-bound to protect her from the men chasing her. But she's not human, and she insists he isn't either. So I think to take this and turn it to a 50-word story, we'd have to pick a moment in this scene or in one of these scenes to focus on.
Those first
backstory and get into the carjacking or whatever.
Yeah. Definitely like the first little part: orphaned, abandoned, raised in the foster care system. Delete it. It has nothing to do with a micro moment. You're opening questions about why was he orphaned? What sort of did he go through being an orphan? Why was he abandoned? What happened being raised in the foster care system? So that right there is immediately pulling the reader into the potential for, what is the rest of the story, dropping in those immediate questions, like I mentioned earlier, that, a reader wants to have answered through following these characters.
So that would be backstory that we would know as the author and we'd be keeping in mind, but we might pick the moment in the car where someone bashes his window in and starts that carjacking, and just that one little scene. And maybe we'd write it and it would be about 70 words when we were done. And then we'd have to start whittling it back until we get one little tiny moment that seems to have, beginning, middle, end.
One whole chocolate out of a box,
Yes.
Yeah. Like specifically with this one, reading over it a few times, you might just instantly start with like the carjacking, and then immediately he's seeing these guys, and then he goes after them because he's different. Like that's essentially like the one little part. It's still a little open-ended because why is he different, what is he different, all that, but right off the top of my head, that would be one way to kind of focus it a little.
Eliminate the backstory, pick the moment, describe the moment, and make it complete.
That would be an interesting moment. Someone carjacks your car, shoves you over, you're a detective, and people are chasing her and you now. And she's not human, and she says you're not either. Interesting. What happens next?
And I'm wondering if maybe that whole story, all of that doesn't lend itself to being trimmed down to 50 words. There's just too much going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big question on this one is, what do you do about him not being human? How can you convey that in a really quick 50-word thing that, you might have to shift it to that he is aware that he's not human, because then you're going to take away the question of why he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Or make the moment be when he finds out.
That's exactly what I mean.
That could
something
be the 50-word
where
moment.
you take out the question of him not knowing.
Yeah.
Is the biggest kind of like hang up with this sort of staying in that pool of Blurb.
Maybe once you know what he is, if he's not human, then that could be where you get your little clue to drop to leave for the audience. Like, sharp teeth, he's a vampire, suddenly hungry. Your blood smells really good from right over here. What's going on? Or something.
Of the soul.
Maybe he starts turning into a bunny.
There you go.
On her.
Yeah, there you go.
Alrighty, thank you, Anonymous. It's fantastic blurb. Like, it is a really, really good, tight and good blurb. Like, I want to read that story. So you got that going. And honestly, that is a really hard thing for a lot of authors to do. So you can check that off your to-do list. All right, next up, Luke Barnett. Allison sought the ways of magic. The tattoos on her arms opened the path for her. But her only friend was slain by the unleashing. Racked with guilt, she would use the magic one last time to seal away the breach and herself along with it forever.
Dun dun. This kind of reminds me of your tattoos, Kalene. Tattoos with your imagination kind of wrapped into it. It's neat. So her tattoos have magical powers, but when she was unleashing them, her friend died in that moment.
That might have been the moment to write about, because this one also, Luke, you've come a long way. You really have, and I mean that. This is another one. It's not a story so much as it is a blurb. It's inviting you to a larger story. It's not complete in and of itself, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a little closer than the last one. But like you said, like if he had maybe, I don't know, like 20 more words, like he could probably loop it out. But yeah, definitely getting it closer to that moment of sealing herself away, that would shift that focus into exactly what you're saying. That's the ended loop to make it the whole.
Essentially, we'd have to find like 60 seconds of the scene to write down into a story, and we'd have to pick which 60 seconds we want to focus on. So it could be like the moment her tattoos, the magic unleashes accidentally, and her friend's right there and dies. Or
And then she seals herself. Yeah.
yeah, or a little bit after that, like, just a few seconds after that when, her friend dies and then she kind of makes her vow. It would be tough to choose.
Yeah.
All right. And next up, real quick, side question that everyone gets to hear. So I got to speak in cryptic. Are we skipping those for now until the end, or do we want to jump into those for halfway?
Skip them for now?
Let's do it now.
Oh, do it now? Okay. All right. Let's do it.
All right. So what I said in the beginning of the show, we have a little game that we want to play. So everyone in the live audience, we, the Fates of No Safe Words, have written our very own 50-word short stories. Like, we're not going to ask you to do something and torture yourselves that we wouldn't ourselves do. The fun parts, we want you to guess which ones you think we wrote. So Ellen wrote one, Lauren wrote one, I wrote one. Actually, I think Ellen wrote a few. Yeah. Ellen wrote 3. Lauren, which one was the one that you had posted? Because
just read them both.
Okay. Yeah. And then I had did one. So I am going to read those, and then y'all can guess.
Are you gonna mix them up?
I was just thinking I should probably mix them up. So I'm gonna actually read another short story real quick, and then y'all can talk about that one, and then I will mix them up on my end so that people don't know. All right, so going down below there. Next up, Kenneth Britz, who also submitted quite a few. So I'm going to read. Yes, we can see you, Leo. Hello, Leo. How are you doing today? Submitted 3. I'm gonna read the first one. All right. Kelvin wants you. Celeste chanted with the perfumed pink parchment. I'll never fancy that philandering fool. He penned lovely lines about your one incantation to immolate, I warned. I wrote back with my personal touch. Thief's eyes glittered with roguishness. Adoration, abjuration, exploding runes. You're a hopeless romantic. All right, discuss while I finagle.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna try reading.
Yeah, please, because like that one really threw me. It was Okay. No worries.
Celeste chanted with the perfumed pink parchment. Well, I'll never fancy that philandering fool. He penned lovely lines about your one incantation to immolate, I warned. I wrote back with my personal touch. The thief's eyes glittered with roguishness. Adoration, abjuration, exploding runes. You're a hopeless romantic.
Oh. Okay, so what I'm getting from this, and there's a lot of big words, so I'm not sure I've got it right, but what I'm getting from this, we've got 2 ladies, who are talking about a lovesick lover, a hopeless romantic, who's written one of them a love letter, which she's rejected in style.
Yes, and with spells.
And spells.
and I burst into flames.
Yes, I liked the puns, the plays on words that we've gotten here.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun.
Adoration, abjuration?
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I get the friendship, I get the humor. There's a lot of trust there, but also there's this outside story of, this romance that's going nowhere.
I thought it was hilarious, but I like big words, so.
Ken says, an alliteration attempt.
It was very alliterative, Ken, and we liked it. I liked it.
Success. All right, so I think Kalene's working out. She's got her stories. She's mixing them up. She'll be reading them. And then our challenge for you guys is, can you guess who wrote what? And if you can successfully guess them all, Ellen, do we have a prize for
We're giving
you?
away a No Safe Words t-shirt to
Ooh.
the first person that pins 3 stories correctly on each, pins 1 story on each of the 3 of us. So you've got to get 3 right out of 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So I've got these all mixed up. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 KS. So I was just double checking. There are 6 stories in total. And I'm just going to go through. Do you want me to just read them through with a little pause in the middle? Do we want to have a little wait for people to guess?
No, they can guess at the end, I guess.
Okay.
Just read them the stories, and don't you think?
Yeah.
As you can tell, we planned this very carefully.
I know. I mean, we spend weeks planning all these things. Come on now. We even practice hours beforehand. Okay. Number 1. She laughed at the irony and disconnected her empty O2 pack. Twinkles teased her vision as she struggled to connect the dead guy's pack. Connect to the dead guy's pack, but the fitting slipped through her fingers. She surrendered to the literal void, just another corpse in an escape capsule, drifting in the infinite dark.
Ooh.
Number 2. The sea was beautiful from this far up, sparkling in the rare sunshine. Face turned to the sun, she let the wind, an old friend, lift her from her toes, and she fell joyously toward the water. Forget what they said. She would fly, if only once. Number 3. Wind chimes swayed within a houseless doorway, defiant against a dead world. Their tink-tink melody surrounded her when the winds howled, allowing cherished moments a canvas, drowning out relentless, silent screams. The breeze carried relief here at her wind chime doorway, where their song took her away from the aftermath of war. Number 4. Gravel crunched, heart pounding, breathing hard. I found my rhythm in the team. Ahead, Aiden and Mark jogged, Aiden's golden curls catching the afternoon sun. Does he even know I exist? I wondered, my foot catching a root. Down I tumbled. Sailing past, one girl laughed. Thunder toes! He glanced back. Number 5. Fate? No. Time. There was never enough time. It was all just too much. Everyone wanted, needed her time. There was never time enough. The self, shackled by entropy, yearning to escape, or at least stop. There was nothing for it, and she returned to stitching eternity. Number 6. Old Man Spruce looms high into the air, boughs holding the weight of 1,000 golden mornings, 100 stormy nights. Blue darkness deepens the 2 black-eyed finches, warm feathers flecked, clutch his arm and nestled together until the coming morning light. Unseen! All right, and also feel free. I just realized it might be a little quick for people to decide. Currently, do we want to announce it at the end of the show, or do we want to put a little postie up in Keystroke for them to meander?
If they get it, I'm thinking the end of the show. If anybody gets it.
Okay, so first come, first serve, end of the show, and we'll see where people are at. Ooh, Court Gilliam already having some things up. He's got me for number 1, Lauren for number 2, Ellen for number 3, me number 4, Ellen number 5, and Lauren number 6. I'm not going to say how close. And then, Ken Britz. Oh, no, Borja. Let's see, is Ellen, Kalene, Lauren, Ellen, Kalene. Oh, I don't know why I said my name again. Ellen. I clearly need more coffee.
Interesting.
Ken Britz. Let's see, Kalene, Lauren, Ellen.
Wow.
And J. Clifton Slater. Let's see. Lauren. Oh, wait, no. Oh, man, he's got them all mixed up. Okay, so he says, I was number 1. Lauren's number 2. Then Ellen. Then Lauren. Then Ellen. Right? No, me 1 and 3. Here. Okay, never mind. Got that all mixed up.
Let's have you guys post your guesses in the Facebook group underneath the video so we can go back and look at it all in one spot, unless you've already posted it there. But yeah, if you could go there and post it so we can take a look, and then Ellen can choose the winner.
I'm not choosing the winner. It's whoever gets it right first.
So I'm
copying. Right. So far, that hasn't happened.
So I'm copying and pasting. I'm going to put up the tally. I'm going to do the little tallies real quick if y'all... Oh, I guess I could read another one first and then do these little tallies. So as I'm doing this, if anyone else has guesses that they want to throw in, I will add you. And I'm just going directly in order. So whoever got it closest for 3 will be the winner. Alrighty. And from there, so let's see, Kenneth has his, this is his second one. I'm just going straight down the list. We Dinas played for providence, for power and for peace. I am old, wise, and an excellent tactician. He was none of these. I opened, he played haphazardly. I played brilliantly. I lost. How? I am thunderstruck. I never do anything twice. So, luck is always with me, beginner replied.
Ooh.
I thought that was excellent.
Yeah. There's an example of where you've got a backstory. That's most of the word count. And then you've got that one little moment.
Gotcha.
Where you're pulled into the story. I think this kind of highlights, Ellen, what you were saying at the beginning of the show, that a story really pulls the reader in. Even though, like I said, we've got all this backstory, it's that moment that we're kind of sucked into, that moment where the guy's like, I lost. He's thunderstruck, right?
No, Ken, that was excellent. I think you did a great job. I wouldn't change a word of that. Well, maybe 1 or 2 or 7. No, I'm just kidding. It was very good.
All right. Next up is the last one from Kenneth. Build me a ship, beloved, she whispers. I linger on desolate black shores after life. Unhindered, I refashion myself. My bones, a frame. My body and skin, a hull and canvas. With death, my captain arrives, bringing the zephyr of all our memories. We sail the sea of forever together.
It's gorgeous. See, this whole episode was just a box of chocolates. It's amazing. Now, some of y'all are nuts and some of you are chews, but that's
yeah. So this is kind of 2 moments. One moment when he's just arrived, I think, in the afterlife, and his beloved is there, and then we have some storytelling where he tells us the story of how he kind of remakes his body into a ship in the afterlife, and then the last moment when they set sail together forever. So this story kind of could cover thousands of years, but all in just 50 words of telling. Very nice.
Yes. You did well with all of them, and they were all different, which was great. Corey Cock, Patricia. Sorry.
That also kind of shows where like storytelling can come in handy to an author, right? We don't have to always have action beats and dialogue throughout our novel. We can cover a lot of ground in a lot of years, even centuries, in just a couple lines of storytelling.
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm so relaxed and happy about this. There were no action beats anywhere in stories.
No pausing or coughing? What?
No.
No looking and gazing?
A little looking and gazing. But, we'll give him a pass.
Okay.
Alrighty. Next up is Borja. He studied the Mars bar. He shouldn't. He'd been so good today. He'd even PR'd at the gym and closed that ticket at work, written all those words, and walked all that way. He'd been so good. He gulped. 5 minutes later, his fist crushed 4 wrappers. 4. Again.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's really good. I love this one. I
I
mean,
can-
everybody can identify with this.
So relate. Yes, this is me. This guy is me.
No, it's me.
4 rappers. Yeah, I love his fist crushed 4 rappers. Like, I can hear that. I can feel that. Just the word crush, it's got the sound of the crushing rappers right there. One word, and it does a lot of lifting, right?
It does. It does. And I know I've said this about 10 times, but we've got so many good submissions that I'm just ecstatic. This is what I look like when I'm ecstatic, by the way. I'm not yelling.
And then the last line of his story, 4.
4.
Again.
Yes. Just right in and grabs your heart because you're right there with him.
You know his conflict, you know his story.
Yeah.
You know how his conflict resolved. But you still have hope that he's going to overcome next time. Corey says, viewer, listen to the story while eating raw cookie dough. Yes, you know how to roll. Cookie dough.
All right. I've got everyone's. I made a key of the order of our stories, so I didn't have to keep scrolling back and forth. Everyone got at least 2 correct. Yeah, everyone got at least the order of where they fell. They got at least 2 out of the 6. One person got 4 out of the 6.
Ooh.
I'm not looking at the same thing you are then.
Wow.
Who got 4 out of 6?
Borja.
Ah.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Because, okay, let's see. I'm just getting 1 was Ellen, and then 2 was Kalene. 3 was Kalene. 4 was Lauren. 5 was Ellen, and 6 was Ellen.
No.
And 4 of those are correct. Yes.
The first 2
were me.
were Ellen.
And 3
Okay,
was
so yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Okay, so so Ellen wrote the first 2. I wrote the 3rd one. Lauren wrote the 4th one. Ellen wrote the 5th one, and Lauren wrote the 6th one.
Yeah, sounds right.
So Borja got 4 out of 6. Ken, everyone except Corey guessed mine. Corey got the last 2 correct. Ken got mine, Lauren's and Ellen's from the bottom. And Jay Cliff got mine, Lauren's and Ellen's from the bottom.
Woohoo.
All right. So I guess Borja wins since we announced it.
Yes.
Okay.
Congratulations.
With your address and tell me what size you want, and I will send you a T-shirt.
All right.
Congratulations.
We love these shirts, these no safe word shirts.
Yes.
We get all kinds of looks. I get looks at the gym from
I wear them everywhere.
You're gonna wear that? My Nana says.
It was really funny because we had gotten Ellen had gotten us no safe word masks for
2020.
For 2020 and then we brought them to the conference. Well, I'd gotten 2, and Willow loved it so much. That was one of the ones she wore all the time to school. It just tickled me. Yeah, so it's good stuff. All right, so we are only at 1:38 right now on the time, so we've still got some time. There's only 1 left, 1 submission left. So I'm going to do our sponsor, read our last one, and then I was thinking I could read the 1K one if we have time, because we might have time. So I was wondering if we wouldn't have enough.
Sure. Sounds
unless
good.
you have more questions or people have questions, that probably would be better. If y'all have questions about story related building stuff, because I'm an editor, know words and how to string them together, then please pop them in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them. And with that, this week's spotlight is on the writing dream and how to make it to happily ever after by Lauren Moore with Josh Hayes and Scott Moon. Writing, something you've always dreamed of doing, but there's just not enough time. Or maybe you've already written a book, or 6, but they aren't doing well. With nearly 50 million books on Amazon today, what can you do to make your book stand out? From the popular podcast Keystroke Medium Live, Josh Hayes, Scott Moon, and Lauren Moore panned the gold from hundreds of author interviews, anecdotes, tips, and advice from authors across the publishing spectrum and all over the globe. We've chosen the very best of it, time-tested, and proven successful, backed up by our personal experience. Whether you can't find the time to write, you don't have a clue how to market, or you just need to fine-tune your process, there's something for you in this book. Click buy now or doom.
Yeah, that was a fun book to write. That was like 3 years of podcasting kind of all summarized into one book. So if you're new to the show and you don't want to binge watch 3 years of podcasting, you just read that book and get Josh Hayes and Scott Moon's voice coming at you. And Ellen, fantastic editing. So it's like a real teamwork book we put together.
That's not my husband.
Yeah.
All right, and from the last submission, last but certainly not least, the one who penned the phrase, the fates, our very own Leo Vaccaro. Most mothers would hate my job. Retrieving the last thoughts of fallen mech pilots? It's too tragic, too traumatic for most. For me, it's therapy. My mind will sail through as many black boxes as it takes until I find my little boy. He will not vanish nor be forgotten.
Aww.
I had to put some extra emotion in that one because that one got me.
Oh.
I like that one a lot. It's one of only 3 that were submitted that were written in the first person. And you can do so much with first person, and people tend to shy away from it, which is kind of a shame.
What I liked about a number of these stories is they pick side characters. Some of them pick side characters in a novel that you only like hear from for a little blip in the novel, but then they write just focus the little story on them. Like your story about the girl who loses her oxygen.
Suffocating in space, yeah.
Yeah.
Pleasant.
Like how many times you read a science fiction novel where like hundreds or thousands of people die like throughout the novel and you never, hear from them again. So you took one of those characters and wrote that moment where I guess the main characters somewhere just blew up a ship or something. Like who knows what happened, but for her, that's her whole story. It's right there. And this is the same thing. This is an AI whose job is to go and collect the final memories of people, and she looks at them as her son, her child. She's bringing home to mama.
And see, your own imagination adds so much to that story that makes it that much bigger a story for all of them. You're giving as much to that story as the story is giving you to fill it out in your own mind what's going on, which is fun because it makes it individual for everybody. It's everybody's own personal story when you have something this small. See, that's what happens when you give the reader a lot of credit for being able to follow your story, and you don't have to tell them, that somebody was breathing or looking or sitting or pausing. You can leave that part out and the reader will fill in the rest, and then all of a sudden they love the story because they've got so much invested in it themselves. And nobody walked across the room.
But you forced yourself to boil it down to the really important parts.
Right. So how much interest does walking across the room really hold in your story? I mean, is it that important that you have to say it, or can you cut it out?
And can you cut out that the character paused and waited a moment?
Or
Please cut out the pauses and waits a moment. The only pausing you're doing is the reader having to read it. And
And there's a handy dandy list in the group in the notes. You can download it. It's called Frequency Count of Overused Words. Feel free to use it a lot.
Leo says, the greatest advice Ellen gave me is to not waste time with action beats unless crucial to the story. Yeah. So maybe if your characters are kidnapped by terrorists and they're trying to communicate to each other across the room with their eyes.
Yeah, that's all they have. Then yeah.
Morse code reading.
Well, that'd be hard.
Yeah, we don't want to hear about breathing. See how it always comes back to this with me. I want you guys to write better. I want you to be good writers. I want you to write things that I want to read. That's what I want.
No, I kind of went on a rant on a comment that I had to save in a file of commonly made comments to one of my authors because of the word pause. It was character paused. And then on the next page, different character paused. And I'm just like, they're like these just little bloodsuckers that just keep cropping up and it's doing absolutely nothing. All they're doing is she paused and it goes right back into dialogue. Like,
it is doing something. It's distracting from the story.
This is true. Well, in a bad way.
Right. Distracting from.
But what if I'm an author and I'm insisting that my pause is crucial to the plot? Like I'm Jim, who at 20 books paused when Ellen crossed the room.
It's your
Crucial.
Story. You know, if somebody pauses once or twice in your book, that's probably okay. You know, the eye is going to gloss over it. It's going to be incorporated into the story. But when your characters are pausing all the time, they sound like stuttering idiots.
Ken's breathing and gazing in the chat.
Yes, Ken.
Good job. Keep breathing. Those are important things.
And they're fascinating. So keep writing about them. Oh, Lord.
So we still have like 15 minutes of potential time. We don't technically have to go a whole hour. But I did pull up the winner of the Keystroke Medium's 1,000 word flash fiction. And that was Leo Vaccaro's Herd. And not herd as in I hear you, but herd as in a herd of buffalo. So I don't know. We tinkered around maybe with reading the first, second, and third place winners, and I thought if we had time at the end of this one, I could read that just to fill space if we wanted to fill space. So if people want to hear me read that, I can.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Or people could throw in questions that we could answer
instead of throwing popcorn. Our people. These are our people.
It's true. All right. So, yeah. And then, also a side note, why I thought it would be a good idea is because Leo kind of smashed it just a little bit by 10-point difference between first and second place. I mean, that's pretty huge. So, I thought, we could, yeah. Anyway, I'll just get on it because now I'm just babbling and wasting time. Leo Vaccaro's first place winner on Keystroke Medium's very first, and hopefully we do another one, 1K challenge. You boys weren't kidding about the bugs, General Fillion said to his two escorts as they rode astride the great silently lumbering Tronin. It's not this bad at the outpost. I thought you were exaggerating. Another large bug smacked against the general's face shield. Hatching season, sir. Trust me, if we were on the ground instead of riding the big guy, it'd be a lot worse, Sergeant Marschaltz answered. The Earther had experience with the annual barrage of the high-speed flying insects. Leave your visor down and you'll be fine. Most aren't toxic, but during hatching season, poisonous one will fly into your mouth sooner or later. Son, I wouldn't open my visor if my life depended on it. They hit like bullets, the general answered, followed by 3 more impacts on his body. Jesus! Kirkov smiled, not letting the two sitting behind him see. He had been born on Plottr. All planets with complex life had bugs. Yet every off-worlder complained about the bugs of Plottr. Hatching season was Kirkov's favorite time of year. What's the big guy telling you, Corporal? Marschaltz asked Kirkov. Kirkov patted his bondmate's neck. Sensing his affection, Zeus rumbled back his own. Their connection was only days old, Too soon for words to form, but the affection was clear. He's showing me. It's all just impressions and feelings right now. Kirchhoff looked behind him, where the 3-star general rode. Sir, may I ask a question? Why not? Fillion answered, wiping bug remains from his face shield. Why are you looking here for these guys? Don't you have people for that? The general looked at Kirchhoff through the insect remains on his visor. Yes, I do. But I wanted to see Plottr. Wanted to see soldiers like you. Sir? Kirchhoff inquired. Soldiers like me? I'm only a corporal. Something smacked the general's chest plate, then another, the side of his helmet. Damn it, he exclaimed, shaking his head. Recruits from Plottr make exceptional battleframe pilots. Not hard to see why now. The 2 enlisted soldiers laughed. Even Zeus rumbled amusement. The mission plan had been simple. Go to the last known location of lost Terran Rangers on a training exercise. Find them, bring them back. But this was Plottr. To go into forests, you needed a Tronin with you. This happened often with off-world units. They attempted to navigate Plottr without help, and soon required extraction. Humidity, bugs, and flying wildlife made short work of navigation drones. The heavy green canopy, able to darken high noon to late dusk, disrupted communication signals. Only natives knew which trees to get under for good comm signal. They were 2 days into the search. If the Rangers had followed their training, they should have fortified their location and waited for evacuation. Corporal Kirchhoff, may I ask you a question? General Fillion asked. Yes, sir. What's it like, having someone in your head like that? Kirchhoff and Zeus were surprised. Not at the question, but how the general asked. Most newly arrived off-worlders would refer to a Tronin as an it. This wasn't intentional. Tronin did somewhat resemble an Earth species called rhinoceros, except Tronin were far larger, sentient, spoke a complex subsonic language, and telepathic. When a Tronin chose to bond with a human, the human was adopted into the Tronin herds. Tronin and human became family. Few off-worlders understood Tronin intelligence. What surprised the bondmates? General Fillion referred to Zeus as someone, and not as it. Hard to explain, sir. It's new to both of us. A lot going on, you know. Kirchhoff paused to pick his words. It's like realizing a part of me I didn't know was there. Not like intrusion or anything, more like a discovery. That's the best I can describe it. Fair enough, the general answered. Branch, Marshall warned. The 3 men leaned low in their seats to avoid the overhanging brush as Zeus passed silently underneath. Impressive how quietly he moves, Fillion observed. It's his feet. Cushioned foot pads. Smothers the sound of the steps, Marshall replied. Kirchhoff felt Zeus trying to communicate. A mental picture formed in his mind. A campfire, with humans huddled around it. We're almost there, sir. Zeus senses them. Kirchhoff felt a strong wave of apprehension. It wasn't his own, and Zeus was always a monument of calm. It took a few seconds to realize Zeus was showing him someone else's emotion. The smells of weapons fire, wood smoke, and torn vegetation made their way through the trio's helmet filters. Soon, blasted branches, ripped ground, and newly scarred trees became obvious. Then Gilith corpses. Gilith were apex predators of Plottr. No threat to Tronin, but more than a match for humans. Terran Rangers had been easy to find once Zeus began following the blood trails. The trampled underbrush from charging Gilith became more obvious as they drew close. The Rangers' fortifications were flawed, and Plottr had found the weaknesses. None of the Rangers had fallen directly to the Gilith attacks, but 2 had lifted their visors during the fighting, exposing their faces. One was barely hanging on to life, and the other was dead. Plottr was unmerciful to the inattentive. The toxic insects always found the careless this time of year. The commanding officer of the Rangers shared the name Fillion. Upon the general's dismount, the Ranger officer received a torrent from the ranger using words Kirkov hadn't heard since basic training. It would have been concerning if Zeus hadn't shown the general's deeper emotions underneath the anger. The heavy wave of apprehension earlier had been the general's. The lost officer was his son. Finished with the obscenity-laced tirade, General Filion bellowed for the Rangers to stop gold-bricking and climb onto Zeus. They scrambled to obey, loading the two casualties with care. "Let's go home, if you please," General Filion requested Zeus directly. "Heard," Zeus answered soundlessly. The first word formed between Kirkov and Zeus. The Tronin word for home.
Oh,
Good job, Leo.
excellent job, Leo.
I really enjoyed that one. It was instantly dropped into a sensory. You immediately had a sense of the characters. You weren't overwhelmed by, who they were, their backstory, all of these things. You're in a moment and you're along the ride. You're there for the ride. And then there's that immediate twist at the end, Yeah, I like that. I like that one.
I did too. Well, obviously.
Yeah. Leo, for this one, really pushed himself to think through what are the different conflicts that the characters have going on in the larger story, and how are they represented in this scene, and how can we get them to kind of intersect right at the end there. So we've got the general you find out he's missing his son, and that's what the mission's about, is this rescue mission. But also you've got the Tronin and his minder, his bondmate, who are building their relationship. And the Tronin's learning to speak. He's learning to come up with words. So Leo was trying to figure out what are all the different story elements that are happening, and then how can I really tighten them down at the end.
And I also like the subtleties. So it's like the general's there on this mission to, find, the guys that are stuck in the forest. Well, he shouldn't be there. There's no reason for the general to be there. So already, that's the main question. He's just like, why are you here? I don't mean to be rude, but, and then, they finally find the camp, and they were so close. So close to finding him, then they all died, and that's sad.
Gave me the feels.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing with this one, is reading through it. It was very easy to forget I was supposed to be paying attention, if that makes sense. I was just in it and experiencing it. So instantaneously, he did the number one thing. You pull the reader in, you keep them held until the very last word, and then you knock them over the head. And that whole thing with Herd home, the son's dead, the general's dragging everyone. Let's go. Yeah, that was heartfelt. So anyway, I'm glad I finally got to read it. I've been wanting to read it since it was announced. So yay!
Yay.
All righty. Well, that is really all that we have for you. Congratulations, Borja, for figuring out the most of our own written little micro short story thingies. We won't be back next week, but definitely the week after. We have something going on. There's something going on, and the guys should be back Monday for whatever it is that I know they have someone on, and now I can't remember.
Well, in 2 weeks, on June 10th, we have John Delarose. He's going to be talking to us about his awesome new Kickstarter that's going on right now. And we're going to hear how he set it up and how it went and how he got it going gangbusters already. So what's the story? We'll find out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, he hit 10K in an hour. I think it was in the first hour he hit 10K. So he's rocking it. I mean, the more information we can get on what people are doing, how they're prepping for these things, can definitely be a big help for all of us authors out there just doing the grindstone. All right, for everyone out there, thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this and you would like us to do another one, either a 50 word or 100 word, let us know. I mean, we can always do this again. And with that, be sure to check us out next time for more reading, writing, and everything in between right here on Keystroke Mediums, The Writer's Journey. Peace out, you guys.
Bye.